Hi friends, welcome back to my lockdown diary. This is Shashwat here. These diaries of mine are repositories of my thoughts and experiences as we live through these interesting times, the quarantine days as we call it, right? So today I'm going to talk about something very different and interesting. So what happened is, the World Environment Day is coming pretty close, and as usual, journalists like me who have interest in this area and domain, this is like our the most important happening in the year. So we were working on a couple of those stories, and today I had a very interesting conversation with one of the people I was talking. He was an expert on sustainability and all, and we were just discussing matters of how various things are shaping up in a post coronavirus pandemic scenario, how the world is shaping up, how different things are, how things are coming back to normal, and what you these days, it's called as a new normal per se. So all those discussions were going on, and in it I was just one of the points that we spoke about is how the pristine beauty of nature is returning. So we have read all these reports of how air is becoming cleaner, the waters are becoming cleaner, nature is coming back, animals are coming back in their cities, and you're seeing all those kind of impact that you're seeing overall that has been prompted by the lockdowns. So one of the things that we were talking, so as part of the conversation I said, one of the concerns that are there is while there has been a reduction in pollution per se in not many things, there has also been a proportional increase in pollution on a very important object that we seem to take for granted simply because it's such an integral part of our lives. So we got discussing about the whole issue of plastic pollution, and it was a very interesting conversation because what has happened is, prior to the lockdown, plastic was one of the greatest boogeymen for all the environmentalists. So we all were like talking against plastic, and we were belaboring it as one of the worst things that has been there, talking about how disastrous it is to the environment, how those plastic bags are lying across everywhere, they're clogging our drains, they are flowing into the oceans, they're killing animals, so there was a whole thing that you were talking about all this while. And just in a matter of month or so, our views have seemed to be changed or muted. And this is largely because plastic is playing a very important role in combating the whole crisis of the coronavirus epidemic. So it's a very odd situation for a person like me. So personally, I completely abhor plastic. And I try and do that. I try to impress in as many ways as possible about what are the dangers of using plastic. And it's not as if that I'm completely like those saints in the jungle who live and completely see this is plastic out here, my lenses are made out of plastic, so plastic is part of my life. But I try to reduce as much as plastic usage as I possibly can, and this is what I also try to do through my conversations with people, individuals, students, and whatsoever, whichever community I'm interacting with. This has been, one of my biggest issues with plastic has been India has one of the lowest per capita consumption of plastic in the world. We stand at somewhere at 11 kg, which is much lesser if you compare to countries like the advanced countries like US and all, which have 40, 50 kgs per capita kind of a consumption. But despite that fact, India is one of the top 12 polluters when it comes to plastic pollution. And why is that? The primary reason is, despite the fact that we might be consuming much less on a per capita basis, the population base is such that our consumption will be really huge. Until 2018, India was not only producing its own waste, it was also importing waste as a business to do that. So we were dump yard for the rest of the world. So plastic has been a very contentious issue for that matter. On one hand, you can't deny the benefit that it has had. There have been numerous the life cycle of the food has increased. The food and packaging industries has done great wonders in that thing. milk products and all these Tetra packs that are there, and they have shelf life. They have increased the shelf life of all these products. But on the other hand, you can't deny the fact that the problem has been building up slowly and steadily. The real lacunae or the real gap that lies right now is how we have been dealing with the waste. The problem, yes, undeniably plastic is part of our life, but we have done almost nothing when it comes to dealing with the waste. So my biggest issue has been, despite numerous restrictions or numerous judgments by the Supreme Court on how we need to start segregating our waste, how we need to start dealing with our waste in a very different manner, that has not happened. So while you might see a CEO in a company encouraging waste segregation in all those colored bins, the waste in his home will be just a simple basket which will have everything in it. And what happens is that the recycle thing really it can't happen, because the waste is such that organic and inorganic is mixed. It's almost impossible to do anything, recycle that waste itself, and that has been one of our biggest bane. One of our biggest bane has also been our fundamental usage of single-use plastic, as we call the plastic bags that are so frivolous. What used to also happen is we have become very accustomed to a life with these bags. So when we go to the market, if someone is giving us, I remember the times, when I was much younger and I used to go to the markets. At that time, you had to take your bags and you would get the purchase back in home. But in between, for the past decade or two, I should say, is when the whole thing changed, where bags are freely available. You might not even ask; they'll give the thing out there. They'll put the stuff in the bag and give it to you. At retail stores, they'll do it. At big shopping malls, that they will do it. So plastic became very convenient and very ubiquitous. So you could get it all the moment, and that really spoiled our thing. When you had all these bans that were coming up, so you had all these plastic bans that were announced, BMC had announced that ban, Maharashtra state had announced, suddenly people became conscious, suddenly people, okay, now that were doing, and we started trying to live without a plastic bag or something. We were trying to reuse a lot of things. Plastic bottles were being, people were giving a thought to all those facts, people were carrying their own bags, there were enormous fines that were there. So, the problem is not in the usage of plastic. The problem is actually in the indiscriminate use of plastic. The problem lies in, if we take usage for granted, there are many things where plastic is necessary, but there are many things where plastic is avoidable, and we need to be cognizant of those things. Things like plastic cutlery, things like all those plastic plates. I'll give you an example. While we are fascinated by all those the disposable disposable cutlery and small utensils and all that stuff, right? Countries like Germany are actually making those plates and all that stuff from leaf, something that we used to do it in our past, right? We used to call it pattal. We used to have these clay small bowls and all that stuff, kulhards, right? We had those kind of things. And that is what we need to dig deeper into our own ethos, and we will see that we used to live a life which was much more harmonious to the nature. I remember the times when we would have these milk coming in bottles, and we would replace the bottles out there. They would be, we will carry our own bags, and even the that famous farsan that we would buy, they would be in brown paper packets. They wouldn't be in those disposable nitrogen filled plastic wrappings that are fanciful and available there. So we just need to dig a bit deeper into our ethos. We need to find that thing. And so that was the kind of thing. So when I told this to my friend, he was like, "Oh, what are you talking about right now in these in these times of epidemic where plastic has been, no one can really it's a topic that no one will pay attention to, right? Who will want to hear anything against something that is so much useful at the moment?" And yes, I completely buy that logic. I am not I will be a fool to deny a thing like that, that plastic is evil, as we call it. My own perceptions about that thing is changing. I just want to emphasize the fact that while plastic is there, and we all are using plastic, and we all accustomed to a life of plastic. What has been, it has been just about a century when the magical product was invented by Leo Bakefield, Bakeland, who had made this Bakelite, that in 1908, if I'm not wrong. So it has been a century, and we have learned to live with this product. We have learned so many benefits it has aided us, but there has also been a whole lot of problems that it has created, and we just need to be cognizant. That PPEs that are there today are very much necessary. The face masks that are there are very much necessary. The packagings that will be coming with all the food that you buy are very much necessary. You can't do anything about it, right, in these times. But we also just need to pay attention to the fact that once this crisis passes away, which it will, eventually it will, we should not get back to our, this should not be the new normal, as they call it, right? This should not be how our things. For very, very many years, we have worked hard to come to a stage where we have been talking very openly about the dangers and the problems that come with waste management, the problems that come with plastic waste and all. I am just hoping that in all this euphoria that comes after this epidemic, and we don't forget all these lessons that we have so much learned out of so many so many iterations and so much hard work that has been there. I just hope that these are not lost. So despite the fact that it's not the best of time to talk about plastic pollution, but I still think it's very important that we do so. And so that was something that I thought, the conversation prompted me to ponder upon this topic, and I thought I'll share these views with you. I know that over the years that are going to come, our future generation, the kids and all, they have become more aware and attuned about all these things. I see many schools paying attention to all these topics. I know a lot of government programs that are running. I know of a lot of things have been happening. So there's a lot of hope as well, and I'm sure in the days to come, some solution will come out of this. On that positive note, I'll take your leave right now. I'll catch you again tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, stay inside, and don't forget to wash your hands.